Hello and welcome to this session at Collab Days Barcelona. Hope you're having a great day so far, because now I'm going to speak to you about Microsoft Search, the what, the why and the how. I'm going to cover the what in terms of what you can do with Microsoft Search and what it is exactly. The why as to why you'd use it over some of the other search areas, and the how that you can get there and actually configure things and even extend it beyond the bubble of Microsoft 365. Before I get started, a little bit about me. My name's Kevin McDonnell. I'm a solutions architect at CPS, a UK-based Microsoft Gold partner, and there I work in the modern workplace team, and we help design solutions built on Microsoft 365 for a whole range of clients. I'm on Twitter at KevMcDonk, and you can also follow my blog at McD79, and I'm talking a lot about knowledge management at the moment in a series there, and that really fits in a lot with Microsoft Search. You can also see a few things I've done at GitHub at github.com/KevMcDonk. And probably the biggest thing is the Grey Hat Beard podcast. Myself, Al Erdley and Gary Trinder, every couple of weeks we get together, we talk about the latest news in modern workplace around Microsoft 365, and then we pick a topic that we talk about, whether it's Power Platform licensing, whether it's our favourite books around the subjects and that have interested us and kept us going. So please do give it a listen, greyhatbeard.com, or go and find it in your podcast provider by searching for Grey Hat Beard. We're on Apple, Amazon, all the big ones, and some of the small ones too. But let's get on to Microsoft Search now. So what is SharePoint Search and what is Microsoft Search? I decided to ask 40 people, and I tried to pick people outside of the SharePoint world and say, what is SharePoint Search? And what were the top phrases? As you can see here, a few different comments that came back. Content was a top one, which was great and interesting that management also appeared there. People, queries, search, which you kind of expect. Filters, which is a great one. A few of these different ones there. If we look at some of the specific answers, you can see that I guess it's the ability to search for content within SharePoint sites. Well, yeah, obviously is a little bit about that. That's a fun question. It's everything from knowledge management to clutter management, which I think is absolutely brilliant as a phrase. I think that came from Sharon Summers, who runs the Cambridge Power Platform user group. I think clutter management's a lovely way of thinking about it. Some of the people I sent it to were friends that I haven't spoken to for a while, who just decided to question my sanity and ask if I was bored. And then there was a really smug one who actually seemed to know a bit, wasn't involved in SharePoint, but said a service inside SharePoint that allows users to quickly find documents, content or people with a combination of search queries and filters. So what is Microsoft Search? This slide came from Ignite 2019 when they were really pushing ahead, and you can see that it's about one capability and every search experience. So no matter where you're searching for things, you would see the same contents coming up. Whether you're looking in PowerPoint, whether you're looking in SharePoint, whether you're looking in Word, it'll be using the same backend index, and you can pull that data all from the same place. Now, many of you have been wondering, if you've come from the collaboration world, you've probably worked in SharePoint quite a bit, and you're thinking, what is the difference between Microsoft Search and SharePoint Search? Is it just SharePoint Search with a few more things pushed into it? And the answer is no. It's actually built on top of Bing technology. So it's a wider play in terms of how the search platform it works. Does that mean that SharePoint Search goes away completely? Actually, far from that. Instead, SharePoint becomes one of the sources that feeds into that Microsoft Search service. You can see we've got the different searches, the Outlook and Outlook Web Access, Office.com, Teams, Bing, all those content will feed into the Microsoft Search service, and you'll have your different indexes and content within there. And you can also pull external data sources with the Graph Connectors Ingestion service. A little bit more on that later. But as you can see, it's about far more than just that SharePoint, far more than what can be done. In terms of how you access it, you can see it comes from all those different elements, whether you're in PowerPoint and using search, and you can see that it's pulled out PowerPoint content, other definition and details from there. Whether you're in the main office and Microsoft 365, whether you're in SharePoint, all those different places come through. Let's move away from PowerPoint a little bit and go and have a look at the slides themselves. You can see here I'm at the Office 365 home And I can take a look from there, and let's click on that and look for a project. Say I'm trying to find out about a project. Now when I search for that, it's brought all sorts of results back. It's brought the project app. So in this tenancy, I've got project web access enabled. I've also got an app registration called Graph Project Dev. It's brought that back. It's brought back some files. It's brought back that site for Project Web App, and it's brought back the project team site there as well. And I can click and show more results and go into even further detail. You can see a lot of those results have come back, more of the OneNote, the other areas there. And I can also use the verticals. So say I just want a file around project. Let's try and filter that a bit more and pick up on that Mark 8 team. I know some of you may know this content very well. It's the Contoso sample content from Microsoft. So let's have a look at Mark 8 and we can see the different files across different sites there. We can look at which sites exist. So if I want to get to that Mark 8 project team site, I can search for Mark 8 and either look at the all and try and find it. You can see it appears very near the top with the number of views, which is great. Or I can go straight to the site's vertical. For example, if you're looking for finance, you may find quite a few finance sites. So you want to filter exactly on those sites just to start getting the different elements there. If I go onto all, talking about filters, I can apply some filters to that content. And I can look at content that's created maybe in the past 3 months. You'll see the amount of content that's coming back. In fact, let's look at stuff that's older than a year. And you can see you get different amounts of content that comes through depending on that filter. Now what's interesting with Microsoft Search is that it's very context aware. So if I go into the Files tab and I click on Filters there, I get a different set because it knows I'm looking at files. So I can filter on the different file type. And I've still got that last modified. I can look at any time. I can look at older than a year and bring those different files back. But it allows me to be aware of those different areas that I'm looking at depending on what I'm looking for as well. Let's go back to all and instead of Mark 8, let's try and have a look for marketing. And you can see I can bring back the sales and marketing site. There's even Power BI in there, which is fantastic. You can, fairly recent change to bring the Power BI contents in there as well. But maybe I'm looking for someone in marketing. I can go to the people bucket there and I can search for people who've got marketing in their description of their role. I can see where they've worked on marketing projects. I can see, even if I look at Megan Bowen and maybe click on her details there, that she's actually in the department marketing as well. So it will filter on those different elements and help me find people within there. Now it's interesting, when I first started recording this, when I first did some of this, looking at Microsoft Search about 6 to 9 months ago, I always had a clip to say it's very nice that when you look in all, you also see the results there. And I can search for Megan as well. And previously, in fact, there we go. It's popping up as the first result there, which is changed since I looked yesterday. Gotta love a good demo. But now we're seeing there, either I can look in the people or all the results. No, sorry, that's what I was looking for. If you look for marketing, you'll notice that those marketing people come back in the people tab, but it's not anywhere. Even if I look at the next few pages, it doesn't show up anywhere in the people results, which it did used to. If you look for a specific person, and I can see Megan Bowen showing up there, then it will have that in-depth rich people card. So where you look at the people tab, you see certain information, but then on the people cards we can see even more details, such as the email. I can start to contact via the SIP number, so I can phone Megan. I can see her location there. I can see the organisation chart. And I can drill and look at the view there and look at where she shares the same manager. I look at files she's looked at recently. So if I've had a meeting and Megan's presented something there, but she hasn't sent it to me or hasn't tagged me in Teams, I can go and search, look at her recent files, and it's probably one, because she's opened it, that will show up there as well. I can now look at groups that Megan is a member of. So if I was looking for a group that she mentioned, I can go and look, and you can see there's 6 results there. And in fact, maybe it was the Mark 8 project team. I couldn't remember the name of that project. I can see that detail there, which is fantastic. And you can even see an indication of a calendar. Some of that functionality that's coming through from Delve is now popping up and can be seen there straight away in search. So you've got a lot of information. I will come back to that parts vertical if you've noted that and wondering about that. I'll come back to that just a little bit later. For now, let's pop back to those slides and carry on there. So we looked at Microsoft Search versus SharePoint Search. Sorry, we talked about Microsoft Search versus SharePoint Search. And what I showed you just there was the search from Office 365. So how different would that look if you were on a SharePoint site itself? Let's bring across and take a look. If I go back to the search results and open up that Mark 8 site, you can see the site there, and I can click straight on it. I don't need to expand those results. I can open up that site and I've still got that common search box up the top. One thing I have noticed relatively recently, you may have seen that search box flicker there. Previously, if I just refresh that page, the search box didn't appear until everything else had loaded, which can be very frustrating. So a fairly small change they've made now, you will see that change, but you can straight away get into that search and start typing, which is a massive improvement. You'll also know when it does load properly that it says search this site. And the reason is because when you search in there, it searches this site. Always good when Microsoft is quite clear about what it does. And if I go and search for Mark 8, it's obviously on the Mark 8 site. You'll see that it filters and brings back the news on there. It brings back files, and I can click on show more results and see a little bit more detail. So again, I've got verticals there, slightly different verticals to the one I see in Office 365, and a slightly different look. I can see those files, I can see the preview of them, and in fact, if you expand, you can open it in a new tab, but if you look at the PowerPoint, you'll notice it's loading something in the background, and if I hover over that, I can actually preview that presentation in PowerPoint there, so I can check and see if it is the one that I want to use. Now, many of you have probably used the search in SharePoint and gone, great, that's fantastic, but it's worth noting that you can go back to the organisation search. So by default, it will search. When you search at that top level site, it will search within that site. But I can go back to the organisation. Maybe the file wasn't there and I thought it was in that site. I can go back and look through everything and see if it's in one of the other sites. See if I can find an example there. No, I think for Mark 8, most of them are in the Mark 8 site, unfortunately. But I can go back and I can go and look through the other results. And I haven't left, if you look at the URL at the top, I haven't left the site. And when I exit the search, I'm still there on the Mark 8 project team. So it's great, I can go through there. Now, if I know I'm looking for a document, I will probably be in the documents view. And you may have noticed very quickly along the top there, that changed from search this site to search this library. So it is a context-aware search box. Depending where you are, it will depend what you're searching in. And if I look at Mark 8 there, it will only look through the files in there. It's looking in this library. So all those news results, if I show my results, all those news results have disappeared. And in fact, it just appears as a filter almost on the screen. So you haven't gone to that same search results. You're filtering the document library there just for whatever you're searching for. So maybe if I look for FAQ, I can see that FAQ doc there. It's going to bring back that FAQ, and that will search the contents of the site. Let's just show that. Open up the documents. You can see we're open up in Word Online. Let's try and find a phrase that maybe isn't used too much elsewhere. Wakantoso. Let's try looking for mutual. That sounds like a good example. We'll go back into there. So instead of searching for FAQ, okay, on keyboard, do it. There we go. Let's try and search for mutual. And again, that FAQ's come up. So it's not just searching the name of the title, it is searching and indexing the contents of that as well. So you've got some very powerful functionality to look through and do things. Now, one other thing I've noticed relatively recently, and there's a change there. Again, if I look for that Mark 8, or in fact, let's search for mutual from the top level. Still getting through that FAQ, and we can still expand those results from the full results page. Previously, there was a button down the bottom. I'm just looking around, make sure it's not hiding somewhere. But there used to be a way you could go back to the classic search page. That has now gone by default. You can configure the search results, and if we go into site information and scroll down and view all site settings, you will see, and for some reason I go absolutely blind on this, there we go, there's the search box, and you can see we can look at search settings, and you can change the search center URL, you can change the page that it goes to, so you can point it to a specific page. And if you've looked at some of I've completely forgotten his name, which I should have written down somewhere, but there's some great web parts supplied by PMP for customizing the search experience. You can create your own bespoke one. You can maybe either filter the search or add your own thing and point people towards that page. So you still have that ability to point back towards a more customized page. Not everything has to go through that pure Microsoft search. And if you do that, that could just be on the SharePoint search. So you do still have that back-end configuration in SharePoint that you can go through. But for now, the default experience is very much Microsoft Search. So we've got Microsoft Search versus SharePoint Search, and you may be looking at those, and I sort of talked a lot about the similarities, and you may be thinking, is that it? It's just SharePoint Search. What am I actually getting? It seems they've added some nice stuff to SharePoint Search, looks good, but what has actually changed? And the answer is, let me show you. So if we go back, and I'm just going to go into the central admin page, lovely beautiful waterfall in the background of Bing. I do love my Bing background pictures. So in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, I've gone a direct link there, and under settings there is Microsoft Search. So you've got some search settings directly for administrators that can view that. And that takes you to a search page, and this is where you see some of the newer functionality that really does bring about a bit of a difference. You may look at this and go, fantastic, I've finally got some analytics. I can actually go in and see some details. I can see what people are searching for. Now that's funny, because Kevin's been searching here and nothing's showing up, and I've been searching here for a couple of days, but nothing's showing up. And I'll be honest, every time I go in here I think, why is that? Now, if you're like me, you see info and you go, no, I'm an expert, I don't need to look at the info. But if I hover over the info, it will tell you why. And you'll see that it says the impression data provided by Microsoft Search in Bing. And the reason for that is if we go to www.bing.com, I'm sure all of you use this and never use Google at all. You'll know that now, when you're logged in with your account, you can see your Microsoft 365 account. In fact, I'm logged in with a slightly different tenant there, but you'll see the same experience. You'll see the latest from your organisation. And if I search for Mark 8, I get to search Mark 8 and it brings back some lovely Bible verses and various other things. But I've got that tab along the top with a nice big padlock just to note that this is internal secure information that is about work. And if I look here, this is Microsoft Search, and it's bringing back those Microsoft Search things, those same results, bringing back that site, the the Mark 8 project team, and I can filter on the site and I can see that site there. Interesting, it's bringing back another result on the site, on the landing page, as well as the one there which we didn't see in the other. Because this is a different tenant, so there is slightly different content on there. Trying to catch myself out from that one. Yeah, slightly different tenant that I've logged in with here. Probably should swap that out, but there we go, we're there now. But anyway, what you will see here is the people and details that you would see in the other one. And when you're looking in that admin center, you are seeing results that come from that bing.com. You may be thinking, yes, but I want to see all the search results. Yes, so would I. We'll have a word with Microsoft and see what we can do about that. If anyone from Microsoft's listening and wants to come back with how we can get that, that would be lovely. But anyway, you get some of the details there and gives you some of the insight. Really, the more powerful things I find are under the other sections. I'm going to start from the right hand side as a slightly less exciting one. You can see you can change your Microsoft Search settings in Bing, so you can allow people to use that. You can install an extension and set Bing as the default one and push that out to people, which will force people within your organization to always use Bing. I would think very carefully about that, because there's a lot of passionate people who love their Google searches, so I'd certainly make sure you're doing a very careful change in adoption before you push that out. You can also control your meeting insights, so you can turn whether to have meeting insights, not entirely related to the rest of search I would say, but it gives access to view meeting notes and insights extracted from emails and calendar details, so there's a configuration there. So let's go back and look again at the answers on there. And you'll see we start off with these acronyms. I'm sure many of you have got within your intranet or your digital workplace a big long list of acronyms. Or maybe you've got a whole load you use your organisation that no one knows anything about when they join, and it's a bit of folklore and chatting to people. And within about 10 years, you're used to those and they trip off the tongue. But before that, you kind of say them but don't know what they mean. Now, you can put those straight away within your search. So you can add here, was waiting about support, NSW, never save file in Word. It's not what you thought it was. I know what you're thinking. You can add all sorts of different acronyms within there that can then be applied and show up within search. And if we look at adding an acronym, let's add CBD, which is collab. Let's get that the right way around. CDB for Collab Days Barcelona. Description, amazing event we all love, and we can publish that. And when you publish it, let's go back and have a look at that there. You can see what it will look like in the search results, so you get an idea of where it's come from. You can view the history of any edits to that and view the details. So a great way of getting those acronyms out to people. You can get your bookmarks. So maybe you've got within there, you can see here if people search for flow, you want to point them towards the flow site as easy as possible. And again, you see when you add that what it looks like. You can add description. You can even add some keywords for the bookmarks as well. The other thing I love about the bookmarks, let's go into status. You can see that it's got some filters. You can look at draft. You can schedule a bookmark. So maybe if you're going live with a new system, when it goes live, you can actually have that to a specific date. You can see the date range, or maybe it's only applying for a weekend. Maybe there's a special event such as a World Cup, maybe during the World Cup for football. Some of you might call it soccer, please don't. You could define it for that, and maybe during the World Cup for rugby. When they search for World Cup, it will come back for the rugby results. So you can put those filters within there as well for those date ranges. But the bit I really like within these filters is the suggested. Now, I have a feeling there's none left in here at the moment. No, sadly, because I'm not really actively using this one. But what this will do is look at common things that people search for and recommend that as a bookmark. So you're taking that effort of having to look through results, and you can actually go through and get the details automatically using Microsoft's AI. So a really useful suggestion. And I know this is something that's going to be built on and improved in the near future as well. Let's go back and have a look at some of those published ones, because there's a couple you may have noticed at the top there that have got some interesting URLs. So for the leave and the help desk, I've actually got some links to Power Apps. And if I click on the leave there, you can see again it gives you that preview. But what you'll notice in the preview is get that nice loading one. Always takes longer than you want it to do when you're doing a demo, but it will actually show the actual app within there. Now I've just used one of the template apps, and unfortunately it requires the user to have a photo. It's always worth testing things a little bit more on there, which is why it's given that error. But with your Power Apps, you can embed those to come back as the results. And you can give it keywords. So if you've got a leave booking Power App or a service desk Power App, you can put those different keywords. So if someone looks for leave, if they look for holiday, if they look for booking, then it will come up with those results. And you can see you can actually filter those bookmarks. So maybe you don't want the Power App because you don't think people will use it on the mobile device. You could not target that one. Or maybe you've got two different Power Apps, one that works well on mobile, one that works well on desktop. Then you can have it target those different areas and the different cases on there, which is brilliant. If we just have a look at, let's untick that one, come on, and add that there. You can see down the bottom to add a Power App, there's a whole section for it. All you need to do is put the app ID in for that. Very easy to do, which is makes it fantastic, really useful. And you can either put the link into the Power App, as I've done with these, or you can have the link go into maybe your leave policy so that people can use the app within the search or go to the policy. It's a really powerful way of using things. Going to jump ahead slightly to the Q&A because a similar thing here, and one of the things people often search for is specific topics, but if people search for a question, they want to know how to do something, and you can provide those answers. So coming back to the leave, how do I book leave? To book leave, use the leave booking app, so you can ask, so you can have questions and answers within here as well, and you can put some rich text description to go through those, the keywords, the same targeting and details that we saw within the bookmark area. You can do the same with that as well. And I think if we look at the filter, you've also got some suggested ones. I bet I've got none here for this either. No, always great for a demo, but you can also have those suggested question and answers. So if people are looking for questions, if people regularly ask, what time does the bus leave? What's for lunch? Two of the most common things I see in intranets. You can provide answers to those. So having someone who's an administrator to go and look for that is very useful. Going to look at locations next, where you can provide some details of your different locations, such as Paris on there. And if we look at Paris, you can put an address, and you can see that it actually adds within there the address at that location. And you can expand that map. I think it's going to open a new page. No, there we go. That looks okay. You can get directions from that. So if you have a lot of different offices and you have people moving between who may not know those so often, you can put the location of those and make it very easy to find that content. You don't have to create a page for each one. You can just have that in the search results. And related to that, if you also have your floor plans defined, now I haven't got any here because I don't have any floor plans there, but if you have them defined as AutoCAD files or even Visio files, you can actually add your floor plan. So when you search for a person, you can see where they sit within the floor plan, or if you search for an office, you can see the floor plan for the office. So if you're going to visit an international office or even a different office within your country, you can get an idea for where people are and where they sit and help to find people way ahead of time. So for those large multinational organizations or large multi-office organizations, very easy way to have integrated within your search that ability to find people on there. So really useful functionality. Let's go a little bit further and talk about connectors. In fact, I'm going to take a pause and flip back to these slides one sec. Because the Microsoft Graph connectors are relatively recent, where they've been available to lots of people, and a really powerful way. I mentioned at the beginning that I was going to talk about how you can bring non-Microsoft 365 content into this. Microsoft Graph connectors are the way to do that. And what they are and what they allow you to do is to pull your own content into Microsoft Search and add it to your own area so you can get access to that detail. Let's have a look at that now. Whoops. If I can remember how to do Alt-Tab. So if we look at the connectors, you can see I've got a couple of sample ones there. Let's hide my Camtasia. Sorry about that. I probably should edit that out, but I like these things to feel natural. I have tried to record this in one go as much as possible. Here you can see the connectors you can connect for, and there's the ones you might expect for Microsoft. There's the Azure SQL, there's Microsoft SQL Server, so on-premises as well. There's your data lakes, the ADLS. And I can't remember what that stands for, but something about data lakes in there. So where you've got all your data there, it's available. If you have enterprise websites, so your own corporate website, you can get the results from that. Maybe you publish your news for your organization into there. You can have that appear in your search. One that I do find very useful as a techie geeky side of me is the Azure DevOps. So where you're adding your code and also your user stories and requirements, you can have that appear as a data source. Let's have a look at that one now. So I'm going to click on next. Just going to go into, and I should have brought this up. There we go. I've taken a sample data set called From Parts Unrelative. For those who've read the fantastic Phoenix Project and Unicorn Project books, may recognise the company name. If you haven't, look up Phoenix Project and Unicorn Project. Really great books about the world of DevOps on there. And you can see there's a whole load. It's 158 work items. So I've got some content I can go in there. I'm going to give it a name. Let's just call it something as simple as DevOps, and let's have a look at the connection ID. It's a unique identifier, so I'm going to call this Parts Unlimited DevOps Connection. Nice and easy. I can give it a description, and we're just going to say yes, okay, Microsoft, I am happy to proceed on. Next. Oops. I'll stay there. Next, and we'll define some connection settings. So it's going to ask me about the DevOps organization. Let me just copy that from the other slide there. Connection. Now, stupidly, I haven't set these details up, so I'm just going to run through and talk through them, but you would need to set up an app ID, and it guides you through how to go and create that in the Azure portal and define a secret. I don't think it'll let me continue from there, but you can see the wizards. I think given time, I won't pick up all the details and items there, but you can see the wizard will guide you through setting up DevOps in your environment. And then you'll find that you've got another vertical that shows that content available there within your search results. Really very easy to set up. Let me try and get out of this. There we go. Let's come back to the connectors. So once you've set up your connector, you'll be able to see it on there, and you can see that actually, even though we've started that, it's showing there in draft, which is really useful. I can get and start using that. Now, you may have noticed I've got a couple of other ones that I've already created there, the Twitter connector and the sample connector. And I said I've mentioned the parts on there, so let's have a look. I think if I search for Hinge, I don't find any results, so there's nothing in there. But if I go to the parts vertical, excellent. If I go to the parts vertical, let's see, there we go. Worked the second time, always good for a demo. If I go to there, what I've taken is actually an Excel spreadsheet. I've loaded it into a data source, and I've put that as indexes. So I've followed some guidance from a GitHub sample. I can share details hopefully in the chat within this on how to set that up, but you'll see that you can load the details on there. So if you're if your company has a parts list, if you have a set of products, you can load those products lists with details and have those appear in the search. So there I've got two different parts, one a door hinge for dishwashers, one a door hinge for refrigerators. I can put some custom properties in there, so the price, the current inventory on there, the appliances, and then you can have a regular process which updates those. So I mentioned that you can do that, but I've actually taken this further beyond the sample that I've created here. I'm going to flip over to my other tenant, or is it that one there? And you can see here in the Azure portal I've created some different areas. Let me shrink the details there. And I've actually got a set of logic apps here. And with these logic apps, I've got some set up, so I'm not going to go too much in technical detail and show the setup, but it's how you can configure your connector. But if I edit this, you can see what I'm doing is this triggers on an HTTP request, and I use the tweet search. So I'm actually searching, for those of you who don't know, Christian Buckley runs a great, roughly monthly tweet jam called Collab Talk. He shares a set of 7 questions and people reply with their views on it. So there's some really interesting content in there which could be useful to be able to search for. So if we search for that text Collab Talk, and if we look at for each and take the body of those tweets, and we can actually put that content into the external connection and effectively add that to the index. So this is how you do it. You use the Microsoft Graph to create a connection, and then you call that endpoint with the details that you want in there. There's a few other bits that I'll go into, and I'll show you a bit more if you want to find out some more about that. But ultimately what it means is if I search for compliance, I've got that tab now, that vertical, and I can click on tweets. I can have it fail again because Microsoft Search is deciding not to behave nicely for me. Fantastic. And I can see here that I've got tweets from Martin Tuip, Rob Brown, Tobias Kaprowski, actually who've tweeted in the Collab Talk and mentioned compliance. So I can look through. I've only added about 99 tweets in there, but I can add through and look at those. And in fact, if I do a search for Collab Talk, I can see all those different ones. In fact, I can see the one that I mentioned about it as well. I can see all the different things that people have mentioned about Collab Talk, and I can search those contents. May not be Collab Talk that you want to put in there, maybe your own corporate tweets, but you can get those within your search. If you're interested more about the more technical details about how that's set up, go to McD79. It's at the time of recording this right at the top, and I don't think I'll get time for another blog post. So right at the top there, I've got a blog post called Creating a Custom Microsoft Search Connector with Logic Apps. And I go through how to set up the different areas. That example, I've got a link to that GitHub if you do want to go and have a look in there. But you can find more technical details on looking at that. Point for now was just to show you what is possible within Microsoft Search. Now I've jumped around slightly with the slides to what I originally intended. There was those Microsoft built connectors And one of those you may have noticed, as well as Microsoft connected ones with Azure DevOps, it's also got ServiceNow in there. So currently there's 7, and I think there will be some more coming there as well. There is also, what I haven't mentioned, is an ecosystem of partner connectors. So you don't necessarily have to have a developer to go through. You can go and speak to a set of partners that have configured these out the box, and I'll show an example of some of those on the next slide. And then you've got that Microsoft Graph Search API to create your own ones as well. There's those 7 built ones, as I mentioned and showed on screen. You've got Media Wiki, so if you have any wikis in your organisation, you can include those as well. And if you have ServiceNow, you can get your ServiceNow content, whether you're talking about your tickets or if you have a knowledge base in ServiceNow, which I know many big organisations do, you can bring that into your Microsoft Search too. And the partner connectors, all sorts of other stuff, from Alfresco content services, Amazon S3, SharePoint Online, not quite sure why that's a partner one, but various other non-Microsoft ones in there, OpenText, Documentum if you're lucky enough to have that. All those connectors available, and you can include all those within your Microsoft Search. I'm going to skip through these because I've done the demo of showing that, and again they're an example of looking for SharePoint and having that coming back in the SharePoint search there. The other bit I wanted to talk about is you can actually develop with Microsoft Search as well. So you can include this within your search, so it appears within your Microsoft Search results and all those different hubs. But it's also possible to use the Microsoft Graph to connect with your custom applications. You can then use adaptive cards, which you haven't looked at. Go to adaptivecards.io and take a look at how you can format the results that come back. And you can also use something like Q&A Maker. And here, where you have those question and answers that you have within Microsoft Search, you can make those available as a separate one within your own apps. Now, you may think, why don't I just use the Microsoft Search ones? I was thinking and hoping the same thing. Unfortunately, the Graph API doesn't yet make those available for configuring and setting those up. So if you're happy to just query those, make the queries against the search, then you can absolutely set those up in there, but you can't configure and deploy them through an automated process. You would have to manually import and export those, which was a bit of a pain for the situation I had for the sample I've got there. I'll come back to that one in a minute. So let me just bring up the link to that. Again, it's on my GitHub and it's called the MS Search Spa. Let's hope it's going to load it. There we go. And I think I've got a screenshot somewhere there. No, that would have been far too helpful. But what you'll see is a great example of being able to query, search for that. It's using something called Next.js, which allows you to set up your code on there and then built to go and query those different elements. So if you want an example of how you can do a bit more custom code, feel free to have a look at that. And if you've got any questions, either log an issue or comment on the GitHub or drop me a line at KevMcDonk on Twitter. Let's go back to the slides. So starting to get near wrapping up, what does the future hold for a lot of the Microsoft Search? And obviously Ignite was a few weeks ago, so quite a few things announced there. And there's a great page that I've put the link to at the bottom. I'll hopefully put it in the chat to make it easier for you during the main event. But one of the big things I thought was around the people search. So not only coming soon is that you can search for a person. So I could search for Megan Bowen, get that person, and then I can add another search on top of that to look for content in the context of that person. So for example, if Megan had given a presentation and I remember she mentioned the name of it and I'd search for that name and a whole load of things had come back and it wasn't really showing it, and I knew it wasn't created by her, but it was connected to her. I could search for Megan Bowen, then search for the name of the presentation, and it would search within her context. So it wouldn't just be documents she created, but ones she'd opened, ones her colleagues were working on. The same as when you look for search, the results that come back for you, it would show you ones as if you were searching as her, except using your permissions. I hope I haven't made that too complicated. Do have a look at that link because I think it's a very powerful way that you can, if you know you're searching for something related to someone else, it will give you the capabilities to do that. There's also even more coming with skills and expertise, so you can search for people who are good at Power Platform, who may be good at presentation skills. they've always, or in fact for a while, for on-premises and SharePoint Online, being able to add their skills based on what they think, self-attestation, you could say. Now with Microsoft Search, it's going to start adding ones based on content people have done. It will start putting skills based on what people do as well. Probably coming through, we'll talk about Project Cortex in a sec, but I imagine quite a lot linked to that. So AI-driven recommendations on those content. There'll also be more content coming through with Power BI, so you'll be able to search Power BI content. I showed briefly at the beginning there. Conversations, so that will be emails, Teams and Yammer. All those will be a vertical. So if you remember the conversation, I don't know about you, but I often get the problem where I can't remember where it was that I had that conversation, whether it was in email, whether it was in Teams. Now Microsoft Search will give you that one pillar, so you're just looking for a conversation across one of those three things. So very powerful and useful from that. Moving on, I think we'll see wider availability for those external collectors. I think we'll see more and more people creating open source ones as well as those partner created. So it'll be a lot easier to bring in your own external content, and I think there will be a lot more coming from that area as well. There's, went slightly one. I'm going to come back to Project Cortex in a sec. The hubs, I think there'll be more there will be more hubs to start searching. So soon Microsoft Search will be powering Microsoft Teams Search. When you search in that top bar in Teams, that will be using Microsoft Search, and you'll be able to see those same results. Those bookmarks, those acronyms will start coming through as well. And also the Outlook mobile, there'll be more intelligent search within that, and you can actually use voice search. So you'll be able to click on there and use the mobile app to help search via Microsoft Search to bring back those results and help you find people, help you find content around those people as well. And not far behind that, still haven't got a date for this one, but you should be able to have desktop search. So your desktop search, where at the moment you just search your desktop, will be extended to also include Microsoft Search. So if you're looking for that document, whether it's in your files, whether it's up there in SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, wherever you, yes, I know Teams and SharePoint are the same, but not everyone does, so I'm saying that separately. But either way, you'll be able to search in Windows Desktop and have that same experience coming through. It's going to be some more admin capabilities. Recommendations for the answers are going to improve. I didn't show, if I'm honest, some of the demos like the acronyms, because when I looked today it wasn't working. So I'm hoping that a lot of the acronyms will improve, and those suggestions where I showed them not coming back, we'll start to see more and more coming through from real tenants on there as well. I think the most exciting bit though is that final block on the right there, Project Cortex. We already know that SharePoint Syntax has been announced. If you haven't seen that, go to aka.ms/Project Cortex and follow the links to Syntax there and find out what that's all about. Being able to use your metadata and automatically tag certain contents and use machine teaching to help get that content through, and then when you're searching on that metadata, you know you're more likely to get useful results than if people were just manually doing it. And I think Microsoft Search is going to be such a fundamental bit to that. Project Cortex has already talked about being able to pull in those other contents using graph connectors. So all those things that I've talked about, those external connectors that you can do with the graph, they will feed into Cortex as well. So Project Cortex can be a session all on its own. So I haven't got time to cover all the details there, but be assured that Microsoft Search will build into that an awful lot on its own. So in summary, we covered the what, the fact you can search across Microsoft 365 content and your own content as well, using Microsoft Graph, and have all that power of AI to have the intelligence use within that. Why? Because you've then got one place and one way to get your search contents from across everything, context aware, so it knows what you're doing and filters the results based on that, but you've just got one place to start looking for all the content, and you know it's going to get that consistency over time. Still improving, but you'll get that consistent one search. And how? You've got that access from that top search box, whether you're in Microsoft Office, when you're in Microsoft 365, whether you're in SharePoint, soon whether you're in Teams, you will have that top single place. You'll get those results back that can be configured when you've used those custom connectors to look how you want it to. And the development is all via the Microsoft Graph. So whether you're connecting to Teams as a source, whether you've got SharePoint, OneDrive, all those different elements that can be connected in there, you're just using the Microsoft Graph to bring back those results. Thanks very much for joining me on this session. Come back to that final slide. I hope that was helpful. I hope that's given you a good introduction on the sort of things that you can do in Microsoft Search to inspire you to go and look out at what else you can get involved. If you've got any questions, at Kev McDonk, let's jump back to the slide. Go and tweet me on there. If you want to have a look on my blog or reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, please do contact, and I'm very happy to try and answer any questions. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Very sorry you couldn't all be there in Barcelona. Would have loved to be able to see the city again, one of my favourite places in the world. So for those of you there, I hope you have a great day. For those of you the rest around the world, enjoy the rest of the content, and thank you very much.